What's the difference between Instructor Citalali and Instructor Xilonen? Instructor has less uptime, so if you go Instructor Citalali, you end up with more Instructor uptime, because you swap the Citalali after Xilonen. But it's hard to reach your ER requirements on Citalali if you don't go Cinder City, especially if you go for a 4-star set that's going to have less ER in total. And a lot of the time, things don't go perfectly in practice, and some of your energy generation is going to get cut. Whether it's because the enemy dies too early, or you didn't proc 5 on Xilonen, or whatever, right? And usually, if you're on Instructor, even with like max ER Instructor, if something goes wrong with your energy generation, your burst is good. What ER do you want on Citalali? Heavily depends on the team. Alright, so let me open Excel real quick. So same element, different element, clear, caught, non-caught. So, let's look at a few different situations. So let's look at the default Maoika Xilonen team. With Bennett, right? BMX. Cinder City. BMX Instructor. And Arlecchino Sucrose. Cinder City. And Arlecchino Sucrose Instructor. I think that's like the best points of comparison to use here, because this is the team where her ER requirements is going to be pretty much the lowest, and this is the team where her ER requirements is going to be pretty much the highest. Anyways, she catches her own particles all the time. She generates, is it 5 or 4? I always forget. I think it's 5. She's 5, and Escoffier is 4, right? Not the other way around? Yeah, it's 5. Okay. So she catches her own particles, that's 5. There's no additional crowd particles getting generated. And you don't catch anyone else's particles on her. And then the rest of your team, Maoika generates 5 particles. Bennett generates 2 to 3, but it's RNG. On average, is 2.25. But I think in this case, you kind of... You want to be fine even if you generate 2, so we're going to assume 2 for now. And then Xilonen is... I forgot. Is it 3 or 4? It's 4. Xilonen is 4. Clear particles. She's not on 5, so she doesn't catch any particles that are clear. I generally assume 2 particles per rotation of enemy HP drops. Those particles will spawn while you're on Maoika, so Citalali doesn't catch them. And then 5, you get 5 proc on Xilonen, so that's another 3 clear particles that she's not catching. Clear particles that are caught are 3 energy, that are not caught is 1.8. Different element is 0 or 1, 0.6. Clear is 2, 1.2. So that gives you total energy. You have your cost, you have your refund, and you have your ER requirements. So energy generated 27.6. Cost 60. Refund, we are getting 3 Cinder City 2-piece procs per rotation. Because it's a 9-second cooldown with an 18-second rotation time, so you get 2. Plus the one that procs from Xilonen, so that's 3. So 6 times 3. And your ER is cost minus refund divided by energy. And so in this team, ER requirements are around 150 on Cinder City. What the fuck is going on here? This is clearly not where I'm clicking. There we go. Okay. Alright. What if you don't have Cinder City anymore? Plus 70% ER requirements. The 2-piece from Cinder City is the equivalent of a Sands plus a 2-piece emblem. 217 is actually pretty hard to reach on Instructor. It's possible. I think my best Instructor set does have this. I have 225. Wait, no I don't. That's with Bennett ER Ascension, isn't it? Wait, no. Bennett... Does Bennett have ER Ascension? I forgot. No, he doesn't. Does he? He... I forgot what Ascension stat Bennett... He does have ER Ascension, yeah. So my best Instructor isn't good enough. And I'm someone who actively locks Instructor pieces with ER and levels them. And this is on the team that has a pretty favorable energy particle generation. I guess it's not as favorable, because part of what makes it favorable is the Cinder City additional procs, so for this it's like whatever, but still. For Arlecchino Sucrose, right? The biggest problem here is that when your rotation length becomes asynchronous with your Nice Burst cooldown, which is the case in these Arlecchino teams. Arlecchino teams' rotation length is about 16 seconds, but Nice Burst cooldown is 18. So it's very possible that by the time you need to use Citalali's Burst again, right? You use Citalali's Burst every 16 seconds. There can be a 16-second window where you don't proc Night Soul Burst. And if that's the case, then you don't get a single Cinder City proc. That's the most annoying part with Arlecchino teams that are only using Citalali as an outline character. Right, in a situation like this, you do still get this 5. You get a little bit more particles from Sucrose over Xilonen. But one less 5 proc. If you don't proc a single, or Cinder City a single time, your ER requirements are at like 230. If you proc it once, it's at like 204. Which is the biggest reason why, unless you're doing speedrun stuff, while Sucrose is more damage, it can be cringe to play, so playing Xilonen might just be better. Because Xilonen guarantees, because you now have 2 Natlan characters, right? It guarantees that your Night Soul Burst cooldown is lower than your rotation length, so you'll get guaranteed at least 1 Night Soul Burst per rotation. And Xilonen herself gives you an additional Night Soul Burst from the proc, so that's a guaranteed 12 refund, instead of sometimes 6, sometimes 0. Which makes her ER requirements pretty comfortable. But obviously, without the refund, you're a little cooked. Yeah, you can technically catch particles here, though. That's something that, especially with Sucrose, because you want to go from Sucrose to Citalali, you can end up with this instead. Catch one of the Sucrose skills on Citalali, which can make things easier. You can also consider using Fav Sucrose, but that's kind of hard to justify because you now also are going to start needing crit rate to proc the Fav, which means you get less EM, so a lower EM buff on your Arlecchino, which is kind of cringe. But it's something you can consider if you're cooked on energy. But at that point, like, just ditch the Instructor. Instructor is there for the EM it gives you. If you have to sacrifice a bunch of EM on Arlecchino to make it work, then it's not worth it, obviously.